Hello and welcome to the world of NDE 4.0. My name is Vrana, and today is a great day because today we'll finally get to a topic which people have asked me about a lot in the last time. And it's quite clear why they asked me that question. Because if you enter into your search engine, Industry 4.0 or Fourth Industrial Revolution, you stumble across another term, and that's Industry 5.0. So it makes it seem like the fifth industrial revolution is already out there. And I actually have already been asked, why do you work on Industry 4.0 or an NDE 4.0 and not an Industry 5.0 or NDE 5.0? So let's have a look into what Industry 5.0 really means. Before getting there, let's have a short look onto the first four revolutions. So if we look into the four revolutions, we started somewhere with handcraft. We got into the first revolution, which allowed some simple mechanization, technical revolution, a digital revolution, and the interconnected cyber-physical, which is the fourth revolution or Industry 4.0. And yeah, I have done a video about discussing those four revolutions kind of in detail, and I will put a link to that video right here. Now, if we now look into what happened during those first three revolutions, they kind of all started with the emerging technologies of the time, which enabled new industries, new products, and new business forms. For sure, they changed the job requirements and they created new jobs. So if we think about the first revolution, it was really about the textile industry. So before that, it was kind of, sewing by hand, and afterwards it was industrial production. So we can imagine what people had to face back then as a shift in the job landscape. Also, the jobs were, before that, you could do your job in kind of every village, and afterwards you had it in some big places where you had those in those factories. All those revolutions also required new thought processes, new kinds of leadership. If you think about it, it's quite something different to operate a handcraft business or a factory, or whether you operate a textile industry or a car production. That was kind of the step from the first to the second, or then from second to third, going into microelectronics and all that. All the time it required really new thought processes, new kinds of leadership. And in the long run, and I really have to say, unfortunately, after a lot of riots and similar events, actually also the working conditions became better and better. If we think about the life before the first revolution, life wasn't really good. People had to be lucky to afford one set of clothes, and afterwards, clothing became affordable. So you can see how it changed the working conditions, and that's just one example. It also helped to solve social issues. And if we think about it, it actually helped to climb Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And I have also done a video about the why of Industry 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the past, where I discuss Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs in detail, and I will put a link to that video right here. But to give you a little bit a view onto what I think, where is the connection between the two? With handcraft, people were life wasn't good. People, for an average person, to have enough food, to have kind of drinkable water, to kind of have one set of clothes, which wasn't really just some lumps, was really all people were really concerned about. But with the first revolution, after those riots we talked about, those jobs became a lot safer. They had yeah, they had a steady income, they had enough food, they have enough water, or a better food and water supply, I have to say. And kind of with every revolution, it helped us to get one step up in Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Now, I have to mention it here, there is a downside to all those revolutions. And that is the increasing production of waste. It's getting more and more simple to produce masses. Yeah, and by producing more and more, we produce more and more waste. Now let's talk a little bit about the fourth revolution. Again, we started with the emerging technologies, we got into new industries, new products, new business forms. Again, it requires a change of the job requirements, it creates new jobs, it requires new thought processes, a new kind of leadership. But perhaps this time, we should have a look on the human side before it's too late, before we again get into riots. Because we are all doing this for the human, not just for improving the production. And looking at Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, where this fourth revolution is really getting to is, yes, we are getting to giving the computer what the computer is good at, and that is doing repetitive tasks, and giving the human what the human is good at, and that is being spontaneous, that is being creative, and that is solving problems. So that, for me, is kind of the fourth revolution. And now comes the question, Industry 5.0. Is that the fifth revolution? So let's have a look into a couple of publications on this topic. The first one I found is back from 2015. I think Michael Rada was the person who introduced actually the term Industry 5.0. And that was to my knowledge, his first publication on this topic. And he wrote that Industry 5.0 is from virtual to physical. And in my eyes, this concept from him back in those days had two main aspects. The first one is industrial upcycling. So what do we do with all of the products which reach an end of the life? How can we actually reuse them, repurpose them, so that we do not create as much waste as we currently do? And number two, he also thinks about, okay, how should be the connection between the technology we have and the human? And he writes about that they should be working for us, not working for us, but with us. And kind of in line with that is also the publication here from Esben Østergaard, which is a year later. And he wrote Industry 5.0 Return of the Human Touch. And he wrote, in this way, the employee is empowered and uses the cobot as a multifunctional tool. So his idea about Industry 5.0 is really the collaboration between robots and humans. 1 year later, Cabe Atwell wrote a paper about, yes, Industry 5.0 is already on the horizon. And within that publication, he wrote, 5.0 will be increased collaboration between humans and smart systems. So this is kind of taking this concept of those cobots a step further by not just having robot and human working together, but any system or computer and the human working together for the greater good. And 5.0 is leaving the monotonous, repetitive tasks to the mechanical and opening the creative side to the biological. And if we think about it, what I discussed about Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs and where the fourth revolution could bring us from one level to the next, this is exactly what I pointed out at that point in this presentation. Esben Østergaard wrote another publication, Welcome to Industry 5.0. And in this one he writes, most importantly, the mass customization enabled by Industry 4.0 is not enough. Because customers want more. They want mass personalization, which can only be achieved when the human touch returns to manufacturing. This is what I call Industry 5.0. Now you see a little bit what people think about Industry 5.0, and there are dozens of other publications out there. So a little bit to summarize, it's really human touch. It's really giving Industry 4.0 a purpose. Industrial upcycling and waste prevention. Mass personalization. Giving the human what the human is good at and giving the computer what the computer is good at. All this collaboration between humans and robots or all other mechanical systems or also other computerized systems. And kind of shifting from a shareholder value to a stakeholder value. There are many more. For example, Emma Rundle wrote, faster, more scalable, more people-centered. Michael Rada, again, potential for sustainability as a systematic prevention of pollution and waste. And I also like this one by Stephanie Mehta, solution we will need to pursue prosperity as a sustainable manner to increase productivity while not removing human workers. So we can see where all of this is going. And actually the European Union also took on this subject. I think it was back in 2019, and they also published a lot of articles about that. And I think this one here really summarizes the results or the current status quite good. What they think Industry 5.0 is about. They talk about human-centric, they talk about sustainable, and they also talk about resilient. And there is a very recent one from 2022, Industry 5.0, a transformative vision for Europe, for Europe, governing systems transformation towards sustainable industry. And in this publication, they write, in essence, Industry 5.0 is a transformative model that reflects the evolution of our thinking post-COVID. It takes into consideration learnings from the pandemic and the need to design an industrial system that is inherently more resilient to future shocks and stresses, and truly integrates European Green Deal social and environmental principles. So, despite all this, what we already heard, human-centric, a sustainable, they take also into account now the resilient focus. But now if we think about it, does all of that make Industry 5.0 the fifth industrial revolution? Now, perhaps one thing what happened is when Industry 4.0 was started, that was really started by a couple of big companies back in 2011. And it's kind of a top-down approach. And Industry 5.0 it's supposed to be a bottom-up approach. And if we think about what Industry 4.0 was at least in the beginning it was the vision of, okay, let's automate as much as possible so that we can reduce the human as good as possible. I guess some people had that in the beginning, but I think everybody knew in the beginning that it will not work. So I think it's good that we have this Industry 5.0 discussion going on, because this is really giving Industry 4.0 a purpose. Having said that, no, Industry 5.0 is not the fifth revolution. It is a purpose for the fourth revolution. Now let's get back to the paper we already saw from Cabe Atwell. He wrote a sentence I liked a lot. Industry is being versioned way too willy-nilly. We need versioning control. Without a better way of describing innovation in industry, we are doomed to see more upgrading of industry since it is an attention grabber. So let me coin the term Industry 6.0, where we never interface with any machine, person, or drafting table setup. Instead, all is done in an app, and we take a picture of a rough sketch and click Make it. Yeah. And if you look in the industry, into the internet, you will already see Industry 7.0, 8.0, 9.0, whatever, which actually I don't like that much. There's another publication from Michael Rada, which I find really interesting. He writes, Industry 5.0 is not the next industrial revolution. It's the true evolution. And actually, Michael Rada has done a pretty interesting video about this topic, and I will leave a link to that video right here. But yeah, I agree with him that Industry 5.0 is not the next industrial revolution. But I'm also not sure whether we can call it the true evolution. Because for me, evolution is something which happened since the beginning of our planet, of our universe. So that would mean kind of that Industry 5.0 started with the beginning of our universe. And no, sorry, I don't see it that way. But I think Industry 5.0 is a good purpose for Industry 4.0. Industry 5.0 is a good evolution within Industry 4.0. And actually, we also already discussed this topic in our book, The World of NDE 4.0, Let the Journey Begin. And here we have a complete chapter about the topic of Industry 5.0 and NDE 5.0. And one of the sentences within our book, the current definitions and expressions surrounding Industry 5.0 seem to be purposeful Industry 4.0. It seems more about responsible application and not something to do with the new technology revolution to change the lifestyle. And I still agree with our sentence we wrote back in the book. Now, I hope I have shown you that Industry 5.0 is not the fifth industrial revolution. It's an evolution within the fourth industrial revolution. And it's a placeholder to address all those purposes, all those things which need to be worked at in regards to Industry 4.0. But now we come to the question. What actually is the fifth revolution? And I have discussed this with Rippy, and you can find some publications also on that topic, but pretty limited and pretty well hidden, because the problem is if you look for Industry 5.0, you find all of those Industry 5.0 topics. But I found one, and this is here from Benedikt Herles, and he writes that the next industrial revolution is biologic. And this pretty much goes along with Rippy and myself discussed. Now, to be honest, Benedikt, I wouldn't have called this Industry 5.0 because unfortunately the term Industry 5.0 is coined. I would have called this the next industrial revolution or the fifth industrial revolution. And in my eyes, what he is writing, that the next industrial revolution is biologic, that could actually be really the next industrial revolution. If we look here at what he writes in his publication, it makes completely new forms and variety of industrial processing conceivable. The promises of our organic innovations are enormous. A tuned bacterium can do more than machines costing millions. Many of the greatest challenges of our time can be tackled with biological inventions. Plastic that dissolves itself, meat that does not require livestock farming, microorganisms as a substitute for fertilizer. So we can see where his thoughts are going towards. And if we think about Star Trek, and if we think about those replicators creating food or anything out of nowhere, yeah, that could be kind of an image for the future. That could be becoming the fifth industrial revolution. And for sure, such a fifth industrial revolution will again, yeah, those will be kind of the emerging technologies of this fifth industrial revolution. It will create new products. It will create, yeah, new industries, and it will require a change of thoughts in leadership. It will require new ways of jobs. It will, all those changes we had during the first four, this fifth one will also have those. And again, we will have to have a purpose for this. And the purpose always has to be the human. And kind of to summarize this presentation, which I guess is pretty long by now, this fifth revolution could be kind of a physical, cyber, biologic, quantum confluence. What do you think? What do you think Industry 5.0 could be about? So, thank you for watching. If you have any comments, if you have any questions like what do you think is Industry 5.0 or the fifth industrial revolution, just leave them down here in the comment section. And next time, we will get to another interesting topic, into transformation. No, not about digital transformation. I want to discuss with you the term transformation, because I found out that yeah, the term digital transformation is sometimes used a little bit out of what transformation actually means. So it will be an interesting video, I think. As usual, you will find more information in the description. I hope you like this video. I hope you give me a thumbs up. I hope you subscribe to this channel and click on that little bell. I hope I will see you soon. So thank you for watching. Thank you and bye.